Hello viewers, welcome to the System Design Series lecture number 4. In this series, we will learn about an interesting topic called as cache. So, what is cache? Cache is a temporary storage area where frequently accessed data is stored. So, why we have to use the cache? We have to use the cache because I will tell you what happens when we don't use the cache. If we don't use the cache, when the request comes to the web servers, the request is directly transferred to the database. So the load on the database will be increased. See what happens when we don't use the cache. More requests come to the database, more read operations onto the database, and the load on the database increases, and the system performance will be affected. So I will draw the picture and explain you how the cache works. See, if you consider this is the web server we have. Whenever the request comes from the client, whenever the request comes from the client, first the web server send the request to the our beautiful memory called as cache. So first it checks in the cache. If the data is not there in the cache, let's say this is the first step. If the data is not there in the cache, then it will check in the database. It's not only a database where the data is stored. This is the second step. If the data is present in the database, then the data is stored in the cache, and then the data is given to the web server. So here we have four steps, and I will repeat these steps. First, the web server send the request to the cache. Sorry, forward the request to the cache, since it got the request from the client. So it forward the request to the cache. So if after forwarding the request to the cache, whether if the data is present in the cache, it's okay. Since if it is the first time you're visiting the website, so the data is not there in the cache, so the request is sent to the database, so that we get the data from the database. And in the third step, the data is stored in the cache, and then the response is given to the web server. If now again after one day, after a few days, you have visited the website again, so not one day, think of after 5 hours you have visited the website. Let's say after 5 hours you have visited the same website. Then when you visited when the request is forwarded to the cache, the data is present in the cache. Since I will tell you, because what type of data is stored in the cache. First of all, the data stored in the cache can be session data. Session data means your credentials, like your login credentials. So you can, when the next time you visit the website, it is easy to access it. Like static content, like static assets, the website's fonts, images, and few web pages are stored in this cache. So this is how the things work. Here we have to consider few things about the cache. The things are expiration policy. First one is expiration policy. So what is expiration policy? See, I have told you that certain period of time the data is stored in the cache, like session data or static assets are stored in the cache. So what is that certain amount of time? Generally, up to one day the data can be stored. These are called as edge servers. The cache servers are also called as edge servers, which are located in different regions in the globe, in the earth. Stored in means located in different regions. These are called as edge servers in cloud terminology. These are called as edge servers. So according to the expiration policy, the time, like the duration, not too short, not too long. It should be like a moderate amount of time the data can be stored. See, the another thing is the cache should not store the data like very important data. It should not, the data should not be persistent, right? The cache data is not persistent. means the cache is a volatile memory. After the here to wait two things. After one day, generally after one day, the cache data will be cleared, and after the cache restarts manually, if the cache is restarts, then also means manually if we clear the data, then uh, the data will be cleared. So we should not store the very important data in the cache. The temporary data like these web assets, so the static assets, the session data can be stored in the cache. another thing Another thing we have to consider is keeping the cache data and database data in sync. Means what I want to say is, see, whenever the database updates, the cache should also be updated. But but maintaining this consistency between the cache and the database is a very challenging thing, um, and it's a bit more tough. and and the technique I have told you here is called as read through cache. The picture I have drawn here, data retrieving through cache, this technique is called as read through cache. Now I will tell you another consideration about cache is eviction policy. So what is eviction policy? Think a while. What happens when cache data is full? Just a second. Where is my- I will tell you. See what happens. This cache data becomes full. How to add the how the new on what policies the new data is added to this cache. So this eviction policy, we have certain algorithms like LRU, mm, LFU. Means LRU means least recently used, LFU means least frequently used. This least recently used means, mm, least recently used means we are considering about already existing data. See, if this is the cache has some data, so there is some kind of data which is not used, which is least recently used, means which is not used that much. So that data should be removed if you want to add a new data to the cache. And least frequently used is also some kind of same thing, like not that much used data. Means least frequently used means which is used when we have, let's say we have five assets, one, two, three, four, five. We have five assets. In this five assets, first one you have used, second one you have, third one you have used again. If the first one is not used, means least frequently used, which is used much long time back, so we remove this data, and we will add a new data called as a sixth data. A sixth asset is added to this cache. So this is called as eviction policy. Eviction policy is applied upon different use cases. If the use case is supporting LRU, they use LRU, or if the use case supports LFU, they use the LFU. And also there is also about FIFO, first in first out. First in first out is also used, depends upon the use case. If the use case supports a first in first out, they use first in first out. That's it. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.